Okay, so I'm just doodling around here a bit, and just gonna mess around with some concepting. Uh, so I'll throw down kind of a neutral color here in the background. Sort of give me a starting point. This is meant to be just a really fast sketch of an idea for something I think we might make. Try to get out for everyone before Halloween. Let's get rid of these crop marks and all that. I don't need that stuff on here. So I'm thinking I want to go with mostly reddish tones to start this out. So zoom in here a bit. I'll take the hardness down just a touch, turn the density down. There we go. Okay, cool. So start a new layer. And I want to play with some different shapes here. Kind of just start spitballing here on screen. And I want to switch colors to something a little more neutral, a little lighter, and just use it to kind of define some shape and some blocks in here. So from there, I think I'm going to build in some torso. Probably hear Killian in the background. It's his chair across the room. So I'm going to keep this really squat, and then give it this bipedal deal. With maybe some big gnarly toes coming off of a really squat sort of shin. And sometimes doing a concept like this is just a good thing to do before you go cutting loose on sculpting and everything. Just, you know, get your ideas and stuff down. And I like doing it because I think differently when I draw than when I sculpt. So if I'm drawing like this, I'm actually not as bound by, you know, the I guess the rules that come when you're dealing with, you know, things that are more physical shapes, you know, solid looking stuff. So when you're doodling like this, you become a little more free to kind of toy around with things than I think you are on you know, in an actual sculpt. I mean, there's definitely a place for it. Sometimes I'm in the mood. I feel like doing a concept sculpt instead of this. So, you know, it's just really depends on what you're in the mood to do. So. Let's take this guy and move him down here. Then, yeah, let's scoot him the idea of these big gnarly looking things coming out of his backside here. And then just to kind of do something a little different, let's give him like little T-Rex arms. I just think that'd be kind of amusing on something monstrous like this. T-Rex arms, and then maybe run the torso all the way down to this sort of tail, so the legs are almost like an iguana or something coming off of him. Okay, so it's, you know, it's kind of funny because even sitting here doing it, you know, I recognize like a lot of what I'm doing here at the moment is really just kind of scratchy, splotchy little shapes, and it's more like a visual shorthand for me, you know, in the process of coming up with, you know, creature ideas and whatever. So let's pull some of this back. And we'll come in here. Let's do a little hint of a back toe right there. And let's kind of define some of this leg stuff here a little bit. Okay. Not really liking that, so let's ditch it. Okay. Now then, more and more I find myself when I'm drawing going back to real old-fashioned sort of techniques where you're just, you know, these bloopy bubbles almost, because I like the movement that it gives. You know, been watching or looking at a lot of Greg Capullo stuff lately. Finally took the time to read the whole Court of Owls thing from DC, and his work with Scott Snyder on that, and you know, it was freaking amazing. So, and as I got to looking at it, I noticed there were some patterns to how he draws things that involved sort of almost like drawing balloons, and it really was pulling a lot of old you know, Kirby and Ditko and old guy stuff in there, which is really nice. I like seeing that influence show up more than I think Capullo really pushed himself and you know, got you know, just kind of took that stuff to a new level. So anyway, you know, like if I'm drawing an arm in here, I'm gonna look at, you know, say we've got there's your fist, then you got a balloon there for the forearm, another balloon there, you know, that is where your bicep and that middle piece of the arm is going to go. And then a third one's going to give you your you know, deltoids and shoulder where it connects. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. It's like down here, you know, when I'm concepting like this, I'm going bloopy. I'm going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, you know, with these bloopy shapes. So then here, when I go in, like I said, I want to do some like little T-Rex arms. Let's give them some little flappy sort of things that they would rest under. I like this idea in here too. Instead of doing something with, you know, big crazy abs like on some of our past creatures, I like the idea of giving almost this skirt-like set of flaps coming down over this tail. So then let's do the those arms I was talking about. So let's put one, say right here, and then 2, 3, and there's going to be that little guy. Okay. And then let's make this little three-fingered deal here. Give him some nasty little hooks on there. Let's run that this way. Okay, and I know that's kind of hard to see in here, but it's you know, it's kind of part of it. Here we go. That's the way to go with this guy. The other nice thing about drawing, like most of the time when I'm drawing just straight pencil because it's for comic book stuff. But for something like this, it's nice to be able to use different shades, different colors to build things up. You know, so let's do that little hand and a little bubble there, a little bubble here. Okay, and then we want this to grow out. Then let's kind of define fingers again. You know, 3 little bubbles will do it. So you got 1, 2, 3, and then 1. Of course, that's a little hard to see in there, so I'm just going to throw some of this red down. So 1, 2, 3. All right, and then I'm going to come through and follow this. Okay. So here we've got this kind of crazy looking guy here. Let's give him a nice, interesting tongue, you know, flying out of here. Something like that. Okay. And then I'll bring that in and, you know, give it this hint of membraney sort of stuff there, and come around and just define some of the shape so it gives that sense of form moving around. Okay. I want to go with more flaps and dangly bits. I think that would be really cool. Okay. Then let's define these. I like this idea of these multiple eyes running around the top of this guy. Okay. Then to make these almost like crab claw sort of deals, but they're not really claws, they're really just giant weapons that come out of his back. Okay. That, and then this one right here I kind of messed up there. I'm going to throw some red back over that because I wanted this foreshortened, and the way that I had drawn that in kind of killed foreshortening there. So I'm just going to fix that. Come in here and define this a little bit. Okay. There we go. So there we have a nice nice creature starting to come together. The way it's defined here. We get you know, a lot of different shape for it. I'm going to take this tail and actually just run that right over his own foot and bring it into the foreground. Let's turn up my opacity a bit. Turn up my hardness on my brush a little bit. Okay. And then just going to swing around here and build this form so that we know, you know, this is, I guess, you know, in my head I kind of see this iguana-like tail so that it's long and rather thin vertically. So now let's just add some more of this stuff. Show that it has some spikiness to it. And let's continue those spikes on around right here. Okay. Alright. Let's see, I think these should be more bone, so I'll continue this color. Then let's go in and tighten up in here with, showing these would be teeth. Let's crank that density up, turn the opacity up some more. Okay. Let me show this kind of stretched tissue around the mouth. Alright. Let's come in here and define these arms a little bit. Give him some spit coming off the tongue, just because it should be nasty. Okay. So there we've created kind of a nice way of looking at silhouette and just getting some ideas together on the sky. Let's go ahead and fill some of this stuff in. Maybe define another one of these big pockets here for an eyeball. Let's throw another one right here. Let's continue some shell sort of things here. I'm thinking it should have almost like a some kind of a carapace bug shell sort of thing going over the back, like that. So now I'm going to get a little bit darker red, and drop my hardness back down, my opacity, everything back down, come through here and start kind of filling some of this stuff in. I'm going to take my brush to background mode too. That way I could kind of drop in here and just fill in stuff in the background. You can see it filling in some of those blank pixels. That's what background mode on the brush does, is it'll fill in, empty pixels. So it's pretty handy for something like this where you're just spitballing shapes and then kind of scratching around and end up with some stuff that leaves some empty pixels here and there. So let's turn that back normal, take my opacity back down, my density back down, my hardness back up a bit. Okay, so I think I'm going to go a little bit darker with that brush too, and maybe even switch over to a multiply mode. You got to be real careful when you go into a multiply mode doing this stuff though, because you'll end up darkening yourself into almost complete black sometimes. So I'll use that really sparingly, just to help create some depth and get some forms built up with it. Okay. Let's see here, you can see how coming in with that color set to multiply lets me start popping these things apart just by helping use that darkness to define more shapes. So looks like Killian's taken off. If you could see what he just worked on, it's this really cute little wiener dog, cartoon wiener dog thing. It's pretty cool. Yeah, you can go ahead. So usually when I'm recording stuff like this, I like tell everybody, I'm like, silence, silencia. But you know, for this is just kind of impromptu, you know, slinging some paint, doing a quick concept, and yeah, not a big deal. So here, well, one of the cool things about using the brush with multiply mode is that it has the feeling of like almost like a marker. So that's kind of a cool thing. You can, you know, if you're used to using like Copics and stuff like that, then yeah, that would feel really familiar. Let's crank this stuff up. Go with a nice harder brush there. Alright. And this is just fun stuff for me. I mean, I feel like I really want us to do some more creatures soon, you know, for our Poser and Daz Studio users. Because I love doing monsters. We've actually been working so much for a while now on our own humans that I feel like, you know, we need a break from that for a little bit to do some cool monsters and stuff, you know, get back to our roots a little with that sort of thing. And you know, folks have always kind of gotten into the crazy stuff that we like doing anyway, so you know, it's kind of fun sometimes. Probably one of the coolest things about working for the you know, for folks who buy content for Poser and Daz Studio is there really aren't any rules. You know, it's like client work presents its own set of challenges where, you know, you have to try and bring someone else's vision to life based on their needs and requirements and so on. Well, with the content market, we really don't have anyone's vision that we have to adhere to for anything. And it allows us this kind of freedom that is cool and scary. You know, because if you come up with an idea that people don't like and it doesn't sell, then, well, guess what? There you are. But it seems like we have a lot of folks who dig the ideas we come up with, so we tend to do all right with that. But you know, even the projects that I have going on, like Apocalypse Girl and some things that are mine, that, you know, that I'm the client, you know, and it's my concepts. Still, those are stories, and as such, you know, they're driven by characters. They're driven by situations, and there's certain plot devices, and, you know, they have their own set of needs. So while they're mine, it's almost like there comes a point where they kind of define themselves. And I don't want to say that the creativity gets sucked out of it, because there's tons of creativity in it, and when you're just coming up with it. But there comes a point where you've written the story and everything's locked down. So it's a nice break. I mean, sometimes I just have to stop and do something like this that literally has nothing to do with anything other than I'm going to create a cool monster. So, you know, sometimes that's like the best way to let my brain just sort of chill back out from all the stresses and things that we go through from day to day. You know, with production and, you know, keeping the lights on and all that kind of business. So, anyway, yeah, this guy is shaping up into something pretty nifty, I think. And I am not actually sure that I'll even be the one sculpting this. My son Killian, who you heard me talk to for a second earlier, has been working with this for about 4 years now, and he's been apprenticing under me doing this stuff, and he's really come a long way. He's kind of, and I don't just say that. Actually, if anything, having me say that about him is probably, I don't know. I'm super critical, and I am his father, and it's one of those deals where it's like, yeah, I'm super proud, but I also give him a lot of flack. So I'll probably hand this to him and let him just run with it, because I think it'd be good for him to spend some more time with, a really nailed down sort of concept. And it'll be kind of neat for me then to come back and get to do artwork with the finished 3D of this, having like painted a quick sculpt and then saying, here, now bring this to life, envision the rest of it, run with it, go get 'em, boy. So I think that'll be kind of cool. So I'm just going to give a little bit of hatching and stuff in here just for some texture. Alright. And I want to make sure that I end up not going super humanoid with any of these eyes. I like these sort of little dot deals I'm thinking of here. The big bulbous eyes that just kind of have a little dot of a pupil in them, and multiples of them. And it definitely starts going into this sort of Lovecraftian vein that I know is kind of that's my wheelhouse. So ain't nothing wrong with that, though. Nothing wrong with adding some more creatures to the mythos, or at least to my little corner of it. Alright. Switch that back over to the lighter color. Help define some of these claws a little bit more. Take it back to multiply. Come in here and just define a little bit of this. Obviously we could keep pounding on this longer and longer and get super detailed. I mean, this would be a fun creature so far to just paint the crap out of and make it a nice, really detailed finished painting. But one, I don't have actually a lot of time to be doing that right now. We've got a lot going on with products that need to get out the door, and then with trying to get Apocalypse Girl off the ground. There's just, it's hectic around here, so I really don't have the time to finish this out quite as far as I would like. But that's okay too, because part of what I want to do with it is see where Killian takes it. I think that'll be kind of interesting. I have high hopes for it. He usually takes this sort of thing and turns it into something really, really pretty cool. So just define that a little bit more. We'll drop shadow in there. So yeah, I'm going to call that a pretty near finished concept sketch. And yep. So hey, Killian. Come Here, tell me what you think of this guy.
Pretty cool looking.
So, I was just saying, I think I'm gonna have, like, I'm not gonna define this out too far, beyond this, but yeah. Well, I wanted to hand this off to you once we get out from under this, all these tunes. Hand this off to you as a new, kind of crazy mythos sort of critter to do.
That sounds cool.
So, if you see anything that you think, any ideas that you'd want to throw in there?
I think you put too much else in and start getting kind of busy.
Yeah. I was thinking about playing around with the color scheme on it here a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Maybe like taking what's a good color mode to mess with on that. Let's do hard light. There we go. There we go. So play around with that. Maybe like treat the top of this thing with some kind of browns and greens, and then have the bottom of it end up being more like kind of lobstery. Like we've got this line right here running down the tail. So I think the most interesting thing in this to me is going to be, what kind of skin you'll end up going with on it, because I really don't, I'm just swinging wild here, and I don't have anything real particular in mind. I wonder how. Ooh. Throwing some yellow in around the eyes here and there, and just kind of see how that stuff plays out, color scheme wise. And I'm also thinking, no, let's try some something a little more blue to kind of cool some of it down. Where are we going here?
Fish have that. Fish and those are just fish, crustaceans and stuff on that tongue.
Let's see.
Or you could do blue spots on the back of it or on the bottom, like one or the other. Or do you just need tonally making that red more blue?
Well, let's see. Let's combine these together, and then I can kind of make a duplicate of it so I can come back to it, and then.
Still have that multi-map exporter going?
Oh yeah, that multi-map over there is chugging. So anybody watching this wonders what we're talking about there. There's a we're working with Josh Crockett on some stuff, and the first thing is he took a copy of our Cthulhu and did a texture set for it in ZBrush, and so what we're referring to with that multi-map exporter is that's a plugin in ZBrush that will take all the different maps, or will extract all the different maps out of the sculpt and paint. And we're talking about a model that's almost 13 million polygons, and so I set that up a while ago for it to extract those maps. And it's actually why I'm over here doing this, is because while that's extracting maps, it gives me a chance to come over here and play. And that just lets me kind of... No, actually what I'm doing here right now is just kind of blending out some of these colors so that I can then come back in over it and try some different things with that. So just kind of smudging this stuff out. Really don't care if the muscles on it are that defined. I mean, I always end up with super defined muscles on things just because that's how I like to draw. But in yeah, I mean, it needs to look powerful, but not necessarily, you know, doesn't have to look like a bodybuilder. So let's make that brush a little smaller there. Yeah, I was messing around with it. I just wanted to give the impression of the eyes being able to go all the way around. I thought that was kind of cool. Ah. Alright.
Well, I thought maybe you were doing like asymmetrical, multiple asymmetrical eyes.
Well, they could.
I'd say you can model that.
Oh, now come on. You can do asymmetrical.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, I actually thought, you know, it definitely should be kind of asymmetrical.
Oh my gosh, what do they call it? That Warhammer faction?
Oh, the Tyranids.
Yeah.
I could see it having,
Big sickle arms on the back do it.
you know.
That's a big Tyranid mainstay.
Yeah, it is. It is. Dang it.
It's like if Tyranid and Slanesh had a baby. That's what that would be.
Oh, and if you're listening to this, yeah, Warhammer nerds. So there we go. Let's use that.
I forgot Tyranid.
There we go. Just something to throw a little bit of texture on there. Let's turn that stuff down. There we go. Let's turn that stuff back up. Wow. Yeah, I may need to restart that and make some changes over there. So anyway, what I'm doing here is I switched off to this pen that I've made that kind of has this sort of textural deal going on with it that I like, just to kind of give this guy some breakup and see where that might lead. Let's do no. Ooh, there we go. Not real happy with that. This is all experimentation, so yeah, here we go. Let's pull in some of the color I use in the background there. Just a little bit of that. Back it off with just a touch. Alright, combine these guys. I actually think I like that better on the back side than the brown tones.
Yeah, I could see that. You almost kind of lose it from the background, though.
Yeah. Excuse me. Well, that's pretty good for now. And I might come back and do some more stuff to this later, but I think this is enough for him to be able to get some ideas together. It's pretty gnarly looking beastie, so it'll be fun. Be a nice break from all the goofy cartoon crap we've been doing and all that sort of thing. So anyway, yep, there it is. Quick concept. And so gonna get off here and post this. Thanks for watching.